Hi, I'm Daniel Gold, and welcome to the Gold Standard Leadership Lab. By day, I'm a partner at a leading advisory firm where I draw upon my background as an attorney to help my clients succeed. This podcast, though, is my personal project, completely separate and apart from my day job, but reflects the same passion that I exhibit everywhere for teaching, mentoring, and helping others succeed through simple, impactful lessons. It is my hope that you'll walk away with practical takeaways to help you on your leadership journey. Thanks for being a part of this community and for joining me in the Leadership Lab. Let's get started. It is possible that so many of us are celebrating the wrong things at work. We tend to focus in on the big moments like closing a deal, launching a product, or getting promoted. These achievements might look sudden, but they are all really the result, obviously, of daily effort and focus. Back in episode 23, the Arrival Fallacy, this way of thinking, as we discussed then, is a psychological trap. Because we often think we will only feel fulfilled once we reach the top. Once we get that promotion, once we get that closed deal. But when we get there, the satisfaction fades quickly. If we only celebrate the big moments, then what happens is that we miss out on most of our leadership journey. Because to build a strong, lasting team, what we really need to do is to focus on the small wins. And I like to call those small wins micro-victories. A micro-victory comes with many small steps, small decisions, and the moment of progress that we often overlook. Think back to your last week. Maybe you had a whiteboard session where a tough problem started to make sense, or a planning meeting that ran long because real progress was actually happening. Or maybe you had a client call where you finally understood what they really needed, what was the problem that they're trying to solve for. These are more than just tasks to finish. They are the repeated actions that help us grow. And just as consistency builds trust, as we talked about in episode 24, these small wins show that our leadership approach is working. In my own running journey, as you all know from following me, as I trained for my first full marathon by my 50th birthday this spring, I have learned that you cannot wait for mile 26 to finally feel like a runner. It is so important to celebrate the miles on the early morning runs and notice the small improvements, like a lower recovery heart rate, a better cadence. Coach Bennett, Nike's global head of running, puts it so well, where he says that every finish line is just a starting line in disguise. Because in running and in life, and on our leadership journeys, there is no real finish lines. So instead of focusing only on the end, pay attention to each new beginning. So why is this important for you and for your team? Because what some call soft leadership is actually backed by science. Harvard researcher Shawn Achor calls the usual way of thinking the broken formula. Why? Because we often believe that if we work hard and reach our goals, only then will we be happy. But in the happiness advantage, Achor points out that the formula is actually reversed. Why? Because happiness leads to success, not the other way around. When we feel positive, we are more engaged, we are more creative, we are more motivated and resilient. The brain's reward system works best when rewards are frequent. If we only celebrate at the end of the year, our teams miss out on the motivation they need to stay engaged all year long. Dopamine helps us learn and solve problems faster, while serotonin boosts mood and motivation. So when you recognize a small win, you activate your leadership flywheel, moving your culture toward growth. The Japanese call this idea Kaizen, which means making steady progress through small changes. If you improve by 1% each day, by the end of the year, you will be 37 times better than when you started. These small wins add up, helping you notice progress and keep you and your team going. But there is a problem. And the problem is that so many leaders have a tendency to miss these small wins because they are too far from the daily work. Because why? Well, when we move up as leaders, they often focus in on big picture items like board meetings and Excel reports and EBITDA, and have a tendency to lose touch with everyday events. Now, if you recall, back in episode 33, I shared a story about an executive who tried to connect with a team, but instead he blew it because he used so much corporate language that the team felt even more distant than when he first started talking. To help your team through small wins, it's imperative to stay close to the work. To be clear, this is not about micromanaging, but it is about noticing. It is about paying attention. When you see someone handle a tough client call well, or you see someone fix a problem that could have stopped a project, point it out. Don't wait for the monthly meeting. Recognition loses its strength the longer you wait to give it. When you celebrate a small win, you are doing more than boosting morale. You are proving strategic clarity. When you say, "I love how you handled that disagreement by asking a clarifying question instead of getting defensive," you are signaling exactly what behaviors create the gold standard in your organization. This is exactly how you avoid the promotion trap we discussed in episode 36, where we promote people based on results, but we fire them because they never quite learned the leadership behaviors required to sustain those results. Celebration is a form of coaching. It is the most positive way to reinforce the guardrails of your culture. And the impact spreads. Achor's research shows that when leaders encourage positivity, their teams become more productive and they become more creative. And guess what? Happier teams, they achieve better results. And those results create what Ken Blanchard and Sheldon Balls calls raving fans. Customers and stakeholders who love to talk about your work. Look, if you want to go from being a boss who tracks numbers to a leader who empowers people, you need a way to recognize the small wins. Here's one way of doing it. Number one, acknowledge a micro-victory within 24 hours. The shorter the feedback loop, the stronger the reinforcement. Second, celebrate publicly so others see this standard, and then follow up privately to explain why it mattered so much. Number three, end team meetings by asking everyone, what micro-victory did we have this week that did not make the official report? And ask your team to identify your small wins. That's right, your small wins. Why? Because this fosters two-way gratitude and keeps you accountable. I think it's fair to say that if there's anything that we've talked about here on the Gold Standard Leadership Lab, it is that leadership is not just a title. It is something you practice every day by adapting, by supporting, and by lifting up those around you. After you achieve something, pause and honor the small steps that helped you get there. Because every finish line is really another starting line in disguise. So don't wait for the finish line. Celebrate the new beginnings that come every Monday morning. Lead with purpose. Fuel it with clarity. Deliver it with heart, because that is the gold standard. So here's my challenge for you this week. Identify 3 small wins from your week. Write them down. Share at least one out loud with someone who contributed. Notice how it shifts the energy in the room and in you. And remember, leadership isn't about perfection. It is about progress. Take this lesson, put it into action, and continue setting the gold standard in your own life and at work. See you all next time.